Hey ladies, I'm Courtney Labree. Welcome back to my channel. If you're already subscribed, welcome back to another video. And if you're new here, girl, I highly recommend that you hit that subscribe button. So everybody knows, cat's out of the bag. I am pregnant and I wanted to come to you guys with a video kind of giving you an overview and a little bit of a story time of my first trimester. I feel like I've been through the ringer. My first trimester was a little rough, so let's get right into it. So first, let's talk about the symptoms that I was having before I even knew I was pregnant. I actually found out pretty early on. I found out I was pregnant at about like 3 weeks. I hadn't even had a missed period yet. But before I knew I was pregnant, I was kind of getting like some weird tingling sensations, kind of like along my sides. I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if that's a sign of like pregnancy progressing, but I kind of just like shunned it off because I'm like, okay, I'm about to start my period. So maybe that's just a new symptom that I'm having now that I'm getting a little bit older. The next was not really a symptom, but more so a sign that, okay, something is a little bit different. But my dog was following me everywhere. And my dog already follows me like a child, but this was like on a whole nother level. I'm talking about like whenever I went to the bathroom, he was trying to make his way into the bathroom. Like everywhere I went, my dog was on my hip. And I thought it was pretty strange. At first I was like, okay, it's probably because we're in a new house, he needs to get adjusted, but he was following me everywhere. The next symptom that I had was actually like a really big like, okay, something is different. I was really bloated, like extremely and painfully bloated. And I know for some women, like around their periods, that's normal for them. For me, it is not normal to be bloated. So that was something really new for me. It got to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I'm having too many happy hours and I need to slow down and I actually need to get back into the gym. And so what I did was I actually booked my trainer. And I just told him like, okay, like, I don't know what's going on in the stomach region, but I'm just feeling like I'm having some stubborn areas and it's like starting to get painful. So I need to get back in the gym. I need to start training. So those were my symptoms that I had before I even knew I was pregnant. People have asked me like, what prompted me to go pee on a stick? And honestly, I was just in my feelings. Rihanna had just announced that she was expecting, and I don't know why, but I just felt in my heart that I needed to go pee on a stick. So it was really random, very like sporadic. It wasn't like a cute planned moment or anything like that. I was just in my feelings and it came back positive. When I peed on the first stick, I honestly didn't even believe I was pregnant. So I got another pregnancy test. That one came back positive, but because I was so early on, the lines were like really, really faint. So I actually went to the doctor to confirm that I was actually pregnant. And the doctor confirmed that I had a positive pregnancy test. And so then I had to figure out, okay, well, how am I gonna tell my husband? So if you've been following my channel, you know that we just moved into a new house. And it just so happened that the day that I found out I was pregnant, my husband decided he wanted to repaint one of the rooms. And I knew I couldn't hold the secret in for a really long period of time, especially with him painting in the house. So I just went ahead and told him the exact day that I found out, because honestly, he was gonna make me throw up with the paint. It was, that was horrible. I thought, you know, the first trimester, like I was kind of anticipating, because I know some people experience morning sickness, but what I got was a whole lot of mess. It was more than morning sickness. This was something new that I didn't know. Your first OB appointment or prenatal appointment is around 8 weeks. So I had a few weeks to go before I was actually going to go see my doctor. The first couple of weeks, I was feeling fine, eating everything. I was still trying to work out and that was going good. My trainer was actually the first person that I told outside of my husband that I was pregnant, and I had to tell him just for, you know, safety reasons and things like that, making sure I'm doing the appropriate exercises with me being in my first trimester. So he was the first person person that I told. I was feeling okay. I mean, like, it wasn't anything out of the norm, but it wasn't until I hit the 6-week mark, that's when the nausea started to like really ramp up. I was having moments where at night I would throw up, and like, by the way, if you've heard this term morning sickness, just throw the morning part out the window, because it can be at any time of the day. And for me, it started off mostly at night. I thought maybe it was like, okay, my leftovers were a trigger, or, you know, just nighttime is a trigger for me. But then it wasn't until I hit that 6-week mark that the nausea really started to pick up. And with us being in a new house, my husband had air fresheners all throughout the house. Even just saying it kind of makes me a little queasy right now, but that was one of my triggers that made me nauseous. Just the smell of the house, it felt like I could smell everything that they built the house with. So smell was a trigger for me. And then just food in general, like, it just would not stay down. By the time I was like 6.5 weeks, I had to go to the ER because I could not hold anything down, water included, for longer than 24 hours. And I was starting to get really dehydrated, but nothing would stay down. So I had to get IV fluids. They gave me some nausea medicine. So with me being sick, extremely sick and nauseous all the time, I had to stop working out completely. It just didn't make any sense for me to continue to work out when my body doesn't even have the fuel or energy to push through a workout. So I stopped working out, and eventually I had my first prenatal visit at about 9.5 weeks. And my doctor basically told me that it was normal for me to be sick, but I felt like I was really sick. Like, it just did not feel like the normal morning sickness. But she told me that it was normal, you know, whatever I could keep down, even if it was chocolate milkshakes every day, try to drink that. But I was to the point where still nothing would stay down. She did switch up my nausea medicine, and it helped a little bit. I'll just give you guys kind of the heads up if you are experiencing any type of sickness. Most of the nausea medicines will cause you to feel really drowsy or sleepy. And that was part of the problem too, is that I was taking this medicine and then I was having a hard time like concentrating or staying awake during, you know, working my regular job. And I had to tell my OB, like, you have to switch up my medication because I have to stay up for work. It was definitely a struggle trying to figure out the medication. We did a lot of trial and error. And eventually, like, we still couldn't get the medication down. I was still experiencing really bad nausea. Even before we got really deep into trying different nausea medicines, I feel like I tried every natural nausea remedy that you could possibly think of or that's out on the internet. I tried ginger. I tried you know, first thing when you wake up, eat like toast or saltine. I tried everything though, basically, and nothing worked. So I knew I had to figure out what nausea medication was going to help me. It wasn't until I was about 11 weeks and I was still experiencing really bad nausea. My husband had to go out of town for work. He had one of his clients actually come and give me an IV. She's a doctor. She has an IV clinic, and she gave me some IV fluids at home along with a small dose of Zofran. When I tell you, I felt like a brand new woman. Oh my gosh, it was the first time in a long time that I could actually eat a small meal. And I'm like, thinking about it gives me like a little bit, that was just I know I keep saying it was a rough time, but it was really rough. To experience like a small taste of relief was just like the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Knowing what she gave me, she pumped me up with a lot of fluids, but knowing that she gave me a small dose of Zofran, which, by the way, I'm not really mentioning all of the medications because this is just more so to give you guys insight on my experience. But if you are experiencing nausea and you feel like you need to, you know, ask your OB for a prescription, I definitely recommend you talking to them. Please do not take my video as medical advice. Just to give you ladies a heads up, if you are taking this medication, some of the side effects that it can have. So that's the only reason why I'm mentioning the name. She gave me a small dose of Zofran, and from there, that's when I asked my OB if it was okay if I could get Zofran in a pill form. And she gave it to me, and it was like a lifesaver. It was like the first time that I was like, okay, this works. It doesn't like knock me out. I can still focus. But one of the biggest side effects with Zofran is constipation. That was a whole nother challenge in itself. So we got the nausea piece down. Now I was experiencing really bad constipation. A little TMI, but let's get into it. I tried, again, natural remedies first. So I did more leafy greens. I tried to add more fiber to my diet, drank lots of water, but the medication was just, it had me backed up. And so I almost contemplated on going to the ER, but my doctor talked me through getting stool softeners and laxative. Before pregnancy, I didn't have any issues with going to the bathroom on a regular basis. So I did have to take stool softeners, laxatives, and when I say Jesus tapped me on my shoulders and said, "Child, come home," that was, oh my gosh. Pregnancy alone though actually causes your digestive tract to kind of slow down a bit. So just pregnancy in general can actually cause you to have a little bit of constipation. But with the medicine, I felt like it was like compounded times 1,000. I just kind of felt like I was in this vicious cycle between nausea and constipation. Like if I took my medicine, then it would cause me to be backed up. And if I didn't, then I would be hovering over the toilet. Everybody kept telling me like, after your first, don't worry, after your first trimester, it'll ease up, like it won't be as bad. And so I was just banking on, like, I'm literally counting down the weeks of when I'm out of my first trimester, because I'm like, I cannot sustain this. Like, this is not something that I could do for a long period of time. I just felt like I was kind of not losing it, but I could feel myself going downhill mentally because I was just exhausted. I was counting down the weeks, and by the time I hit 14 weeks, I just thought that all of those like horrible symptoms would just magically disappear, because that's what people were telling me. That's what other women were telling me. And I woke up and I still had the symptoms. My symptoms still kind of stuck around. They actually stuck around until about 16 weeks, and they're still here. It's just not as severe, definitely not as bad. For me, my first trimester, it was just mentally exhausting. I know that it was supposed to be a beautiful experience, and sometimes like I go back and forth with feeling a little bit guilty, because it's just like, okay, this is such a blessing, such a moment, and I really struggled. Like I felt like I couldn't really enjoy my first trimester. My second trimester, which I will get into in another video, so if you enjoyed this one, make sure you subscribe. One thing that some women told me is that your second trimester is kind of like that golden period, and it definitely got a lot better in my second, but the first, it just wasn't the greatest for me. So that's actually one of the reasons why I disappeared for so long. I stopped posting on YouTube because I was just really sick. That was my experience. If you can relate, or you had a similar experience, or if your first trimester was a cakewalk, let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.